What's up, everybody? Victor here with yet another video, and we're here with a brand new console. As mentioned in the last video that went up, or maybe it was the one before that, I honestly forget at this point, which is sad because I don't put out stuff nearly as often as I'd like to. But anyway, we're gonna be a cow in a cart because, you know, sometimes you're just supposed to have fun in life and not overanalyze things. So that's what we're doing. So I'll get straight to it. With Switch, or Nintendo Switch 2, alongside opinions of Mario Kart while playing Mario Kart, because that's how we're rolling here. So the Switch 2, I'm gonna go through like pros and cons. Pros is the Switch, it's the Nintendo ecosystem. You kind of know what you're getting. I do feel still to date, even with all the potential negatives behind Switch 2, which I get, and I'm definitely gonna get into. Didn't get the turbo there, I suck. But despite all of that, first off, I guess some Mario Kart bundles came with the game pre-installed. I was not one of those lucky people, so I had to go ahead and install it myself, which of course increased the setup time, which was not super difficult. The account transfer was pretty easy. The setup itself was pretty easy. Really, no complaints whatsoever there. The biggest complaint with the console itself, by far, in my personal opinion, is the fact that they skipped out on Hall effect sticks and instead decided to, you know, be Nintendo and different, which really is just going to lead to the same problems, which is also probably why they changed their user service agreement to something along the lines of not opting out to be able to actually qualify for a class action lawsuit or something like that. Literally have to write them a handwritten notice to opt out of that. Not that I imagine I'm going to end up in that situation, and wanted to do so based on principle, and I have not, admittedly, but these are things worth pointing out. Because as long as we're over-analyzing something and getting to the non-fun aspects of gaming, which there are plenty of out there, but I digress, you know, it's worth mentioning, right? It is something to keep in mind. And it does add to potentially taking away from what would otherwise be a fun experience. I mean, you get to play as a cow on a cart, and it is the cow from Moo Moo Farms. I mean, what else could you ask for, right? But, you know, sticking to the bad things. Honestly, my biggest knock, I've kind of already knocked out. I did try Game Chat briefly. It's fine. It works. It's functional. Nothing to write home about. The eShop doesn't run at, you know, 10 frames a second. So that's nice. We needed a whole other console to get it done, but we got there. Right? So that's a nice little upgrade. And you can say that for a lot of Switch 1 games that maybe didn't perform the way that you would like, which of course has always been, oh, that motherfucker, which has always been the biggest selling point for the Switch 2. You know, it's not like they were trying to put it out to be something brand new. It is the next version of the Switch, and an impressive one at that. Although, alongside saying that, back to the negatives, it did not launch with VRR, which is one of those neater things in more modern consoles that we've gotten used to at this point, especially like in the PC realm. Coming soon, I guess, is their excuse. So, not a good look. A lot of the lack of transparency leading up to the launch of it was obviously a sore mark for Nintendo. And of course, someone had to push the boundary for $80 games, which I do believe was mentioned in the last video. But here I am anyway, quote-unquote contributing to the problem. Because even though you save the 30 bucks if you get the bundle, I mean, why wouldn't you? Otherwise, you're just buying straight into that potential $80 future ecosystem, which it was going to happen regardless. It's just a shame that Nintendo was the one to push that envelope. So I think with all of that out of the way, and also blah blah battery life, that's a thing, but I mean, I can't really comment on it from personal experience, just because I've played it pretty much primarily docked outside of when I tried it in game chat, mostly to not interrupt what my partner was doing at the time. So really haven't done a ton of handheld mode. Oh, and the initial setup for the console, which I did do part in docked. Just don't have enough experience there to comment. Because despite a good chunk of the internet, I try to not talk out of my butt, you know, and try to talk based on personal experience, which is what this is. It's non-filtered, non-scripted, and that's what we've come to expect here. What else? I feel like I had one other side thing that was potentially negative. I can't remember. It must have not been that important. So we're going to move on to the positives. I guess if you want to stretch for a negative, yeah, it's just more of the Switch. But again, that's exactly what we were getting from the start, so I don't know what we're complaining about. I don't find the price as a negative, all considered. But of course, then the way they made up for that was increasing the prices of all accessories by $5 to $10. But while that does suck, and I will acknowledge that, I personally decided to opt out of the Pro 2 controller, hence because of the whole, like, Hall effect or lack thereof that I mentioned earlier. So I felt I didn't really need a Pro controller. The old ones work. I can save the money for now. I also did not get an SD card. I strictly got the bundle. I knew what I was going to get from the get-go. I knew that I was most likely, unless they raised the price again, buying into the Nintendo ecosystem. These were decisions I made long before all the nonsense, and have mostly stuck with, regardless of a lot that is admittedly deserved backlash for the Nintendo Switch 2. So, that all said, what are the positives? Well, for the same reason it could be considered a negative, it's more Switch, except it runs better. So that's cool. I like that. You obviously have the enhanced visuals. I think Mario Kart, especially for something Nintendo related, is fantastic. I think it looks great. Mario Kart World is the launch title, and it's the only thing I have for it. I thought about getting some other stuff, but I'm pretty happy with this. And even though I have somehow not exhausted my time with this game as of yet, because I now have all the characters, don't ask me how little time that took. Well, actually, that's another negative, actually, but that's specifically about the game. So I think we're just still talking about the console, but, like, I do like this being offered with it. I think it's a good addition. I think it looks good. I think it runs extremely well, which is more than I can say for a lot of Switch titles, Switch 1 titles, even if they were first party. This game, wherever the frame drops are, I'm not noticing them. Like, this is a pretty smooth game, and when you consider the fact that they doubled the effective total racers, that's pretty fantastic. I'm okay with that. I have not tried online mode, so I don't really know how that works, if the netcode's any good or any of that stuff. Again, don't have the experience, so I'm not going to speak about it. So that's Switch-specific stuff, you know? And so getting into, perfect segue into Mario Kart itself. Do I think it's worth 80 bucks? Absolutely not. Do I think it's fun as hell? Absolutely, yes. And considering I got the bundle, I don't really feel too bad about that. Part of that's being comfortable in your own skin, because boy can I tell you, the vocal majority, and I don't know, sales might tell a very different story. That might be inaccurate, but the people who don't have a Switch 2 or want anybody evidently to have a Switch 2 for any which reason, because it's not just about the negative points that I brought up. It's you should not get one for XYZ reasons, because morals and future of gaming, except then they'll contribute to games that have microtransactions in them and all this other nonsense. So what the fuck are we even talking about? Just enjoy stuff, people. Like, that's the whole thing with the Switch 2. I honestly don't think I need to say much more than that. I could honestly end the video right here, and that would summarize pretty much everything I'm saying in a long-winded video. But Mario Kart is fun. I do think they focused on the wrong aspect of the game. It has world in the title, and I know that's supposed to be like the main focus. I think if they focused more on Knockout Tour, that would have been a better highlight for the game. You do lose the Mario Kart customization, which I know some people like. I personally don't care about that, because you do have a lot of choices in karts anyway, and I do mean a lot. Same with character choice. You're not short for choices. There are a ton of outfits and unlockable characters, which actually does point to a negative aspect of this game, in my opinion. There are a lot of characters or outfits to be unlocked, and while I do think some part of the game should be, you know, maybe play to get some unlocks, particularly the NPC characters, where you have to rely on an in-game item that's used against you, and it's a rare drop for an item, to maybe get turned into an NPC character that you then unlock by doing so, is not a great system. Do not like it. Other than that, the game not, in my opinion, being worth $80, but with the bundle effectively making it 50, perfectly worth. I think it is appropriately priced at that price, even though Nintendo is FOMOing the shit out of it, and in the fall the bundle won't even exist, so fuck you, pay us $80. You know, it's fun. It's fun, it's smooth. You have wall riding, but admittedly I haven't done it. I don't think I've done a single wall ride in this game. The grinding is cool. You can play as the motherfucking cow, which apparently everybody and their mother's playing online. I would be one of them if I ever chose to play online. I would be just as boring as the rest of the crew. Although there are other fun characters. Some get more outfits than others. Some characters definitely got shafted in that regard. But it's just a fun old time. And even what is offered in the world, you could say it's limited, which it kind of is. And gets repetitive / annoying. But to even do that, and you can also do that free roam straight from the menu, like no interruption or anything, just seamlessly jump into free roam mode, which is pretty sweet, you know? If you have people to play it with, it just makes the case all the better. And if they were Switch 1 users, they don't necessarily have to get new controllers. I thought the exception might be 8-bit Duke controllers, because I have a friend that came over for that, and the controller did not work. But I have heard that, I don't know if this applies to all models, but you can download the latest firmware for it, and it will work. That is something I shared in my gaming community, try to help people out. Oh, that's the one other negative thing, specifically about the Switch console. Evidently, some people, if you did not update the Joy-Con controllers and used it off the dock and they ran out of charge, you have a select few people that evidently that just bricked their controllers, which is not great. I think there might have been some workarounds on a Reddit post for that, but just a warning overall to just make sure you update the firmware for your controllers, which, regardless of how long we've been doing that, is always going to sound strange to me. But it kind of is what it is. I don't know. Maybe this is actually sounding more negative than positive. But at the end of the day, we tend to forget, because it's so easy to be negative and or nitpick things in today's day and age. The real important part at the end of the day is that you have fun. And as it currently stands, even though it's a very limited experience, it is a fun one. And I do not regret my purchase. There's an asterisk there, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. But I don't regret my purchase. I am sufficiently enjoying myself. That said, for the average consumer, or even someone that might be a diehard Nintendo fan, would I willingly recommend this to someone? Probably not. The launch lineup is not incredible. They're just, I mean, I can't necessarily say it's not incredible, because like Mario Kart is enough to sell most people, even though it's technically a spin-off game. But like Mario Kart has done really well over the years, specifically with Mario Kart Deluxe. Like, how would they not want to try to capture lightning in a bottle twice with that? So I get it, but I forgot where I was going with this. I love this Rainbow Road, even though I keep consistently fucking it up, and I'm totally not going to get first at this point. Yeah, I forgot what the hell I was saying. That's what you get when things are unscripted and uncut and so on and so forth. You just forget where the hell you were going with things. Good times. So, forgetfulness aside, no, I probably wouldn't recommend this to the average consumer, or even like a casual Nintendo fan. Even a hardcore one would be kind of hard to convince, because the thing of it is this: whether the launch is good or not is kind of irrelevant. There's really not much there. And you have to wait a month on one of two Switch 2 specific titles. The other one being Donkey Kong Bonanza, which I'm not entirely sure that I'm sold on. Which, that game is probably going to be more open world than this one is, and is $70 and this one's $80. Let's make sense out of that. Not going to try Nintendo logic, you know, or lack thereof. But my feelings the whole time have been cautiously optimistic. And because of that, I still go in as a consumer saying that, right? Like, we could very well have another Wii U situation on our hands. To me, that wasn't as big of a deal, because during that period of time, we at least knew of... Actually, it's 2 points I was going to make here. The Wii U... we knew of... I think this applies both to the Wii and Wii U, actually. Because I did buy both when they come out. And with the Wii, you at least had Wii Sports as a pack-in. Welcome Tour should not be $10. It should be no bucks. So another negative. Let's add it to the list for people who want to count the negative things and nothing else in life. So yeah, that's a thing. Motherfucking cow in the special cup with not 1 star but 2 stars. Couldn't get first every time. Couldn't be perfect. Can't get 3 star. Not quite good enough for that. Just have fun, people. I don't know what else to say, you know? Like, it's as I said earlier. Like, I really could just stop the video there. But it's a hard recommendation. And of course, the more you buy into it, the less money you have for accessories or future things and whatnot. But if you get the money, once you run through Mario Kart, that's kind of it for a while. If you're interested in DK Bonanza, you have about a month. If you're not interested in really either of those 2 Switch exclusive games, what do you got? You got better running versions of Switch 1 games that you wish existed at the time, but if you bought Switch 2, you can enjoy them. Like, you can extend your enjoyment with that. But, like, brand spanking new things, not much. And you don't even necessarily have to buy into FOMO if you haven't bought already, because getting one, either Nintendo has done really good with supply this time around, or maybe the demand isn't as big as some places are saying, because launch day, a day or two after, perhaps even now, like, you can find a Switch 2. It might not be easy depending on where you are and what locations you have available to you, but, like, it is possible to still get a Switch 2 if you want to try and get in specifically before the fall, or else get fucked, pay $80 for Mario Kart. But again, it's tough, right? And while acknowledging things, it's like you gotta feel bad, right? Except I don't. You know, parts of this may come off sarcastic, and, like, that's kind of the intent, right? Because I'm happy with what I have. I did have a little mini gathering to get Mario Kart. I streamed it day one. I've got my fill, you know, and I will probably spend more time with Switch 1 stuff, specifically Pokemon Gen 9, you know, Pokemon Scarlet running the way that it should, as opposed to a sluggish game. And other stuff that I'm sure will receive that benefit. Random tidbit that the Mega Man Legacy Collection, one of them was on the list of has issues and might not necessarily be backwards compatible, but I think it was fixed literally launch day with a patch. So that's not a thing anymore. Just right out of the gate. Really, truly, my biggest problem, and it's been from the start, is the lack of Hall effect sticks. This is Nintendo being Nintendo. OMG, we want to innovate, except this literally got taken apart by professionals, and it's pretty much the same tech, so we're probably going to run into the same issues again. They could have just went Hall effect. They were like, nah, we're going to Nintendo it up. Not cool. Hence why I didn't buy a Pro 2 controller. Plus, they raised the prices on them, on top of all that. So, nope, just not doing it. But, like I said in the, I think it was the Claire Obscure video, and possibly here already, like, I'm going to be very selective over what I choose to buy. Especially if it ends up costing $80. Of course, people are following suit already, and it's unfortunate, but it was an inevitable future. I am curious what the next $80 game outside of, I guess, Switch 2 editions of Switch 1 games. I am curious what the next big Nintendo game, first party, is going to be $80. And what possible justification is used for that, because this ain't it. This is fun, but it ain't it. So that'll be interesting to see. I think I've made every point I want to make at this current stage in the game. Which is convenient, because I was going to say, I don't know if I can keep talking through the credits about stuff that I haven't said already, but here we are. So, I guess the real lesson, too long didn't watch version, skip to the end. Congratulations if you are a Switch 2 owner and playing Mario Kart World, as it says on the screen. Have fun with stuff, and don't let other people ruin it for you. And if that's a kink of yours where you want people to ruin stuff for you, well, you have 1,000 places on the internet where that can happen. That's all I got. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. I will see y'all next time. Later.